The galaxy was vast, and among the stars, humanity had built a fragile existence, thriving on its ingenuity and resilience. But none could ignore the looming threat of the Ultrith, an advanced predatory species whose cruelty knew no bounds. Their technology was terrifying, but their hunger for conquest was even worse. They struck without warning, overwhelming colonies, stripping them of resources, and leaving a trail of terror in their wake. On one such colony, a small planet on the edge of human space, a 6-year-old girl named Mira lived in peace with her family. That peace was shattered when the Ultrith descended, their ships blotting out the sky. Her parents tried to hide her, but they couldn't outrun the invaders. Taken in the chaos, Mira was separated from everything she knew, lost to the darkness of the Ultrith war machine. Inside the cold, sterile walls of an Ultrith ship, Mira sat trembling, bound to a chair made for creatures much larger than her. The metal restraints dug into her wrists, and her feet barely touched the floor. Her large, innocent eyes darted around the room, filled with fear. She wanted her mother, her father, but there was only Vrax, the towering Ultrith commander, staring down at her with malice in his slitted eyes. The Ultrith thrived on domination, feeding on the fear of their captives. To them, Mira was not a child, but a tool, a way to pry information from humanity's most vulnerable. Vrax leaned in, his voice a guttural growl that vibrated through the room. "Tell me, where is the human fleet hiding?" His jagged teeth glinted as he spoke, each word meant to terrify. Mira was too scared to answer. She didn't know anything about fleets or war. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. Vrax's patience was thin, and he clicked his claws against the control panel, activating the torture device. The chair began to hum ominously. Energy coursed through it, sparking pain throughout her tiny body. She screamed, a scream that pierced the silence of the ship and echoed through the cold corridors. But her cry did something else. It awakened something ancient, something that had been dormant in the deepest reaches of humanity's forgotten past. Far from the battlefields of the Ultrith invasion, deep within the forgotten ruins of ancient Earth, something stirred beneath the surface. Beneath layers of dust and rock, in chambers untouched for thousands of years, immense machines, juggernauts, lay dormant. These massive, sentient war machines had once been the pinnacle of human civilization, designed during a time when humanity had faced threats far more dangerous than the Ultrith. For centuries, the juggernauts had slept. They were remnants of a bygone age, forgotten even by the humans who now wandered the stars. Their creators had been lost to time, their advanced civilization fallen long ago, but the juggernauts remained, waiting, watching. It wasn't a voice or a call that woke them. It was a pulse of pain, a signal born from Mira's scream. The ancient programming within the machines detected the suffering of a human child, and their core systems slowly hummed to life. Asterisk protocol initiated. Human life in peril asterisk. The ground shook as the colossal beings began to stir. Dust fell from their titanic frames, and glowing eyes blinked on for the first time in eons. Slowly, the juggernauts rose, their massive limbs creaking as they powered up, systems long dormant sparking back to life. They were more than machines. They were guardians, designed to protect humanity in times of dire need. Deep in their ancient programming, the juggernauts understood their purpose, to defend their creators, and now, in the cold vacuum of space, they detected the threat, the Ultrith. With deliberate precision, the juggernauts calculated their trajectory, engaging engines that had once traversed the stars. Their mission was clear: protect the child and annihilate the enemies of humanity. On the Ultrith ship, Vrax watched Mira with sadistic glee. Her suffering was a testament to his dominance. To him, humans were weak, fragile creatures, nothing like the Ultrith, who had perfected the art of warfare. He believed that torturing the child would break humanity's spirit, another victory in their campaign of terror. But his triumph was short-lived. As Mira's cries echoed through the ship, alarms suddenly blared. The ship's systems went into high alert, and the control room was thrown into chaos. Vrax spun around, his eyes narrowing. "What is happening?" He snapped at one of his officers. "Commander, Unknown objects are approaching. Fast. They're massive, larger than anything we've seen. Vrax's face twisted with confusion. The display screen showed incoming vessels, but they weren't human ships. No, these were far larger, far more imposing. The vessels, if they could be called that, seemed to absorb light, their sleek forms casting long shadows across the Altrith fleet. They moved with terrifying speed, and the sheer scale of them dwarfed the Altrith's most powerful warships. "These aren't human ships," Vrax muttered, his arrogance faltering for the first time. His mind raced as he tried to comprehend the threat. What are they? The answer was beyond his understanding. The Juggernauts had arrived, and they were unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. The Juggernauts didn't communicate. They didn't negotiate. They had only one objective: destroy the threat to humanity. The first Juggernaut to reach the Altrith fleet wasted no time. With a low hum, its massive cannon charged, and in a flash, it unleashed a devastating beam of energy. The blast cut through the Altrith's largest warship like it was made of glass, the ship exploding into a brilliant fireball as debris scattered in all directions. The Altrith fleet reeled in shock. These titanic machines moved with unstoppable force, and no weapon in the Altrith's arsenal seemed capable of stopping them. Their energy shields and plasma weapons, so advanced compared to human technology, were useless. The Juggernauts were impervious. Panic spread through the Altrith ranks as ship after ship was destroyed, reduced to wreckage in moments. Escape pods launched, scattering like ants as the remaining Altrith officers tried to flee the onslaught. But there was no escape. The Juggernauts moved with cold, mechanical precision, their weapons erasing every trace. Amid the chaos of destruction outside, Mira sat in her chair, her small body trembling. The shocks from the torture device had stopped, but the fear remained. She could hear the distant sounds of explosions and alarms, but it was all a blur. Tears welled in her eyes as she hugged her knees, trying to make herself as small as possible. Suddenly, a loud, thunderous noise shook the room, metal shrieking as something enormous tore through the ship. The walls groaned and the ceiling above her buckled. Mira gasped, her eyes wide with terror. For a moment, everything seemed to hang in silence. Then, the wall to her right was ripped apart like paper, a massive clawed hand breaking through the ship's hull. Beyond it, in the cold blackness of space, loomed the Juggernaut. Its towering form filled the void, glowing eyes fixed on the tiny human inside. Mira could hardly comprehend what she was seeing. A machine the size of a mountain, yet moving with calculated precision, focused solely on her. With incredible delicacy, the Juggernaut reached into the ship's torn hull, its massive hand descending toward Mira. Her breath caught as she instinctively tried to pull away, but there was nowhere to go. The huge hand cradled her with surprising gentleness, lifting her from the chair, the restraints snapping easily under its grip. For the first time in hours, Mira felt safe. She didn't understand what the Juggernaut was or why it had come, but the fear that had gripped her slowly began to fade. The giant machine held her carefully, its massive body shielding her from the cold vacuum of space. And then, for the briefest moment, a voice resonated in her mind. A deep, ancient voice that echoed with both strength and warmth. "You are safe, little one. We are here to protect you." The Juggernaut holding Mira slowly turned, its focus shifting from the rescued child to the remaining Altrith forces. Despite their advanced technology, the alien fleet was crumbling under the relentless assault of the Juggernauts. What had once been a fleet of terror was now a scattering of ships, desperately trying to retreat. Vrax, still aboard his command ship, watched in horror as his forces were obliterated one by one. His pride and arrogance had vanished, replaced by the cold reality that his entire fleet, once considered invincible, was being systematically destroyed. "We have to retreat," one of his officers shouted, panic in his voice. But there was nowhere to run. The Juggernauts were everywhere, their massive weapons slicing through the Altrith ships like knives through butter. Vrax knew his time was short. Desperation gripped him as he made a final decision. He ordered his personal escape shuttle to be prepared. He had to survive, even if the rest of his fleet perished. As his shuttle launched from the disintegrating command ship, Vrax looked out the viewport, hoping, praying, that he could escape the wrath of these ancient machines. But the juggernauts did not allow survivors. As Vrax's shuttle sped through space, a single focused beam of energy fired from one of the juggernauts. The shuttle exploded instantly, leaving nothing but scattered debris. Vrax, the Ultrith commander who had once believed he would conquer the galaxy, was no more. The Ultrith fleet had been utterly annihilated. Their reign of terror, which had spanned entire systems, came to a sudden and violent end. The galaxy, once fearful of the Ultrith, would soon learn of the power that had defeated them. In the aftermath of the battle, silence returned to the void of space. The remains of the Ultrith fleet drifted aimlessly, reduced to nothing more than scattered wreckage. The juggernauts, having completed their mission, now hovered silently, their massive frames motionless as they waited. Mira, still held safely in the juggernaut's grasp, stared out at the vastness of space. She couldn't fully comprehend what had happened, why these enormous machines had come for her, or why they had saved her from the Ultrith. But she felt a strange connection to the juggernaut that held her, as if it understood her fear, her pain. The juggernaut's task was complete, and now they were ready to return to their ancient slumber. But before they left, the one holding Mira gently lowered her into a small human rescue ship that had arrived on the scene. The ship's crew, a group of human soldiers and medics, stared in awe at the colossal machine as it deposited the child carefully into their care. As Mira was carried into the safety of the human ship, the juggernauts began to power down, their mission complete. But before they disappeared back into the darkness of space, the same deep voice echoed once more in Mira's mind. "We are the guardians of humanity. When you are in danger, we will return." The crew of the human ship watched as the juggernauts slowly vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only the wreckage of the Ultrith fleet. Their presence had been brief, but their impact would be remembered for centuries to come. The Ultrith were gone, and the galaxy had learned a lesson. Humanity was not as vulnerable as it seemed. Mira, still shaken but safe, looked up at the stars. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain: humanity had protectors. And though they were ancient and hidden, they would always come when needed. The legend of the juggernauts would spread far and wide, a symbol of the unstoppable force that lay dormant within the human spirit, ready to rise when threatened. Years passed, and the story of the juggernauts became more than just a legend. It was a cornerstone of humanity's place in the galaxy. News of the Ultrith's destruction spread far and wide, and many alien races who had once viewed humanity as an easy target began to rethink their positions. The galaxy became quieter, more cautious, and the fragile peace that humanity had fought so hard for began to solidify. Mira, now older and wiser, often found herself reflecting on the events of that fateful day. She was no longer the terrified child who had been taken by the Ultrith, but a symbol of resilience and hope. Raised by her surviving family and surrounded by the heroes who had come to her rescue, Mira never forgot the juggernauts, their towering forms, their protective presence, and their promise to return when humanity needed them. As she grew, Mira's experiences shaped her. She studied history, particularly the forgotten epochs of human civilization, determined to learn more about the ancient machines that had saved her life. She became a leader, advocating for peace and unity among the planets colonized by humans, but also ensuring that humanity never forgot the power that lay hidden beneath the surface of their worlds. Whispers of the juggernauts continued to ripple through the galaxy. Some believed that they were merely a myth, an exaggeration of human ingenuity and lost technology. Others feared that if such machines truly existed, they might one day turn against the very people they were designed to protect. But Mira knew the truth. The juggernauts were more than machines. They were guardians, silent, patient, and watching. One quiet night, Mira stood on the observation deck of a research vessel orbiting Earth. Below, the cradle of humanity turned slowly, its blue and green beauty a stark contrast to the chaos she had once endured. She closed her eyes and let herself drift in thought, remembering the deep, resonant voice that had comforted her all those years ago. "We are the guardians of humanity. When you are in danger, we will return." Mira knew that the galaxy was still a dangerous place. There were countless threats lurking in the shadows, waiting for humanity to falter. But as she stared out at the stars, she felt a deep sense of peace. She didn't fear the future. Not anymore. Humanity had faced the brink of extinction before, and it would again. But somewhere, hidden in the forgotten corners of ancient worlds, the juggernauts waited, silent, patient. And when the time came, they would rise once more.